everyone, I'm Lauren and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing my June wrap up. I did not read that many books in June. I think in total I read 4, including 1 beta read for a friend and also 1 audiobook, so I only read 2 actual physical books. I don't know what it was about June, but I was just kind of in a big reading slump in general, so I didn't get a lot done. I wanted to read loads, but if you're just not in the mood to read, then it makes it a bit difficult. So the first book that I read, well, listened to in June was Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by eddo-lodge. I don't normally listen to audiobooks. I'm not sure if it's the right medium for me. I did find that it was a bit difficult to keep and retain all of the information that was within the book itself, but the information that I have been able to remember I found really insightful and really interesting, and it's given me a deeper understanding of the history in my own country that revolves around racism, and also in how minority peoples have been treated within my country and society without any sort of acknowledgement going towards it. So I did give this book a 5-star rating on Goodreads. I think it's maybe like 4.5 to 5 stars, and that's because the information within the book was engaging and it also gave a lot of detail. I think it's something that I'm going to have to read again so that I can get the names of people within the UK civil rights movement and look into it a bit more, and also delve deeper into the history of the UK civil rights movement. Personally, that was one thing that I didn't really know about UK British history, that there was a civil rights movement in the UK similar to what was happening in America, because our history is so glamorised and only focuses on how Britain is a good thing. Stuff like this doesn't get shown or taught in schools. It was through this book and also a Twitter thread that I found out about Black History Month in the UK. From this book I found out that it's been going on since the 1980s, and on a Twitter thread I found out that it was something that is actually taught in schools with a higher population of black communities. The area that I grew up in was very white, so we didn't get any information around Black History Month or any of this sort of civil rights movement. I don't know if that's the case for all schools across Sheffield and South Yorkshire, or if it's just the areas that are more white that this happened, but I think this whitewashing of history, of our own history, is something that should be stopped. The title of this book has caused some controversy. I've seen quite a lot of the reviews online and also comments on social media saying that the title of this book is inherently, I think the words that have been used are racist in itself, because it's signalling out that they're not going to talk to white people about race. However, I think that the people who are getting offended by this don't understand the reasons why people don't want to talk to white people about race anymore. Another audiobook I've got that I've not yet listened to is White Fragility, and I think that would give a deeper insight into the title of this book. So one of the main reasons that Renee gives for no longer talking to white people about race is the fact that whenever it is brought up, white people are quick to dismiss the prevalent racism within the UK because they've not experienced it and they've not seen it, and they themselves might not consider themselves to be a racist person. They're unwilling to accept that this is a topic that needs discussing and it needs looking into. And although the title can seem quite abrupt and confrontational, it's that sort of in-your-face statement that's needed for people to confront the issues within society that they might not be aware of. I do think this is a really good book, and like I said, I will be listening to it again just so I can make some notes on it, because before I was just listening to it to just absorb the information, see what I could remember as an initial point, but I do want to delve deeper into this, so I will be listening again with a notepad so I can take down names of people. It mentioned about a bus ban in Bristol, and I don't remember a lot of the information from that, so again I'd like to go into that a bit more, and also the civil rights movement within the UK. But I do think this is a really good book, and I would really recommend that everybody picks this book up and really pays attention to the information within it. It might seem difficult to have to confront this part of our society and our culture, but it is something that we need to confront together. The next book that I read in June was Carlo's Natives, Race and Class in the Ruins of Empire. So this book does actually tackle some of the similar themes of why I'm no longer talking to white people about race. So Carla is a British Jamaican hip hop I don't really know how to describe him. He's sort of an entrepreneur. He's written this book. He's got another book coming out next year, which I really want to read. I've not pre-ordered it yet, but I'm really tempted to. In this book, he talks about his own experiences as a British Jamaican person growing up in London. So this book doesn't only deal with the racism that Carla has felt throughout external forces, but also with the internal forces of his own family and the racism that came from his own family. So he is a British Jamaican person. His mum is British and his dad was Jamaican. Because his mum was white, his maternal grandfather pretty much cut off his daughter because she had had children to a black person, and he had to deal with the racism from that side of his family. It does seem that it was only his granddad mainly, and he did go and visit his Scottish family after his granddad had died, I think. But yeah, it does show that how there was that sort of juxtaposition. There's a moment and a chapter, I think, in this book where Carla realises that his mum's a white person, and from that moment on he has a different relationship with his mum because she doesn't understand and doesn't have the same sort of relationship with the world that he does. And it did, in his own words, he said that it did cause a sort of fracture and a rift between them because she can't understand what he's going through. And when he realised this, he was only 5 years old. So from being 5 and knowing that the stuff that you're having to deal with is not the same stuff that your mum has to deal with, I think it could potentially cause an issue within that sort of family dynamic as well. Although Natives is more of an autobiographical view of Akala's life in relation to the racist system in the UK, it does also touch on some of the points from why I'm no longer talking to white people about race. For example, it goes into the Brixton riots. So this was when a mother was killed in her home because the police were looking for her son and he no longer lived there, and they went in and shot her. I think that is a brief summing up of that story. Again, it's something that I'd need to look into a bit more, but this happened in the 1980s. So it's not something that happened hundreds of years ago. This is a very recent event within British history. As with the Bristol bus things, I think that was in the 60s, but again, it is something that's still within living memory in the UK. He also tries to go on to explain how growing up as a black person within the UK, and specifically in London, has caused a lot of the issues that you see now and the information that's portrayed on the news. So for example, the black on black violence narrative that's only ever used in a racialised way. You don't see news of white on white violence, although that's probably more prevalent, and how the news and words are used to help keep this system as racist as it can be, but a covert racism rather than an overt racism. I think that's one of the reasons why I really liked this book. I loved Akala's input on it, on his own perspective of how he's grown up with it and how he's seen other people grow up through the system with this, and also on his view of the communities and the societies in that area and how they can try and break out of it. I do think it's really insightful. To me, it made it seem more real. I know that it is a real thing and it is happening every day, but having that connection with the author in the sense of he has written about his own upbringing and how he potentially did some things that, if it had been a different sort of person, could have seen him have a lot worse life. As it is, he's been able to sort of pull himself out of this. And there's a chapter in the book that mentions how he's been stopped by the police whilst he's been driving, and he'd not had a stop for ages, and then just before this book was getting ready to be published, he got stopped again, and the only reason that the encounter didn't go as badly as it could have been is because the other police officer with them recognised him from his talks, his YouTube, his rap music, his hip hop, that background, and because of that and because of his sort of conversations within the political atmosphere as well, the situation and the encounter went completely differently to how it could have been if it was just someone on the street who nobody knew about. I gave this book a 5 stars on Goodreads as well, and that is because I do kind of like the autobiographical sense within it. I liked the learning the history of how he came to perceive himself, how he came to perceive his surroundings, and how this is an issue that is pervading especially London, and how the racism within that society has been constructed to stop people from being allowed out of it. I would really recommend everyone to go and read this book as well. I do really like Akala. He's got a YouTube channel where he puts up his music. I think he's done a couple of videos where he's reading chapters from his book. It goes into his daily life, his Shakespeare company, some of the talks he's done. He's so eloquent, he's so erudite. I wish I was as eloquent as he is, because I can't get the words out as well as he is able to. His mastery of language and his understanding of it makes his videos so entertaining to watch, and the words and how he speaks is just wonderful. Honestly, if you ever get the chance to go and see him at a talk in real life, I really recommend it. I went to one in 2018 and I think it was the best 2 hours of my life. Technically the last book that I read of the month was Successful Time Management by Robert Ashton, who is a social entrepreneur. So I picked this book up in the library. I've had it for a while. I had started it months ago and then I thought I really should finish this, which is funny because it's about time management and I clearly not managed my time very well in reading this book. This is mainly aimed at people trying to manage their time within an office environment, so making sure that they're not saying yes to every task they're given, making sure that their time is accounted for properly, not trying to rush things and manage time that way. Personally, I just wanted like something to help me manage time in general. So I had already been doing time blocking, which I'd been doing in my diary, which I'd got from a few bloggers. I did like this book. I did really think it was useful. There were only a couple of chapters that I think really resonated with what I wanted, so I think that was Wednesday and Saturday. So there were only 2 out of the 7 that I thought were that useful, and for that reason I've given it 3 stars. It's an okay book if you want to try and learn how to manage your time better at work, or if you're working from home and you want to be able to try and manage your time better. This could probably be a really useful thing, but for me it was okay but not really what I was looking for. So those were the 3 books that I actually read and recorded on Goodreads. The last book that I read was a beta read for a friend, so I'm not really going to go into that, but I did technically read 4 books this month, but I can only talk about 3. I don't really have a TBR for July. I'm just going to be going through my shelves. I have joined a book club again. So the book we've got this month is Queenie by Candice Williams. I can't remember her name. I'll put a picture of the cover up somewhere. So I've got that book to read at some point this month, and other than that I'm just kind of going with the flow and just getting through it. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a like, and if you want to watch more of my videos, don't forget to hit subscribe. There's a new video out every single Sunday at 4 PM. I hope you're all well and staying safe, and I'll see you all later. Bye!